We are live.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Global Track 7. We continue discussing different topics which have global affecting the global challenges. As you know, there are so many changes are happening around us. So the world is moving so quickly, and the data definitely requires to be more agile. So we're expecting that people are going to be using self-services more. So next session is going to be focused exactly on these topics. So the authors of the next session are going to be talking about how to unlock the value of your data for agility, for all the changes which are happening so quickly, and people have to really make decisions in a much shorter cycles as it used to be. So the session is going to be pre-recorded, so it was done before. So we're going to run the pre-recording right now. If you have questions, please post your questions directly to authors via the application. Right, so your question is not going to be answered at the end of the session, but authors of the session, they're going to take a lead to answer all questions via the application. Thank you so much. Enjoy the session.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Brian Meyer, and I'll be your moderator for the day. I have just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. If you have any questions for our presenters throughout the session, please utilize the Q&A panel. There will be time allocated at the end of the session to address as many questions as possible. Lastly, please keep an eye out for the survey link, which will be placed in the chat panel towards the end of the session, as well as sent via email. Your feedback is extremely important to us. And with that, here's Iram Radzik, Senior Director, Product Marketing, Realtime.
Thank you, Brian. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Building a Data Strategy for 2022, How to Unlock the Value of Your Data for Agility. I'm excited to moderate this panel discussion with two speakers today. Our first speaker, our featured speaker, is Noel Yuhanna, VP Principal Analyst at Forrester Research. Noel has more than 25 years of experience in IT. He covers data warehouse, data fabric, data integration, virtualization, data management, and other related technologies for enterprise architecture professionals. Our second speaker is Manish Sood, founder and CTO for Realtime. Manish founded Realtime in 2011 as the first vendor with cloud-native multi-domain SaaS offering for master data management. We have an interactive panel discussion today. I'm excited to start without any further delay. So my first question is for Noel. Noel, everyone talks about data being a critical asset. Why is that now? What is the urgency behind this focus?
Yeah, first of all, it's great to be on this webinar to talk about data, right? I mean, data is one of the most important elements we're seeing today for every organization, right? I speak to about 3 to 4 customers every day. These are, financial services industries, companies, these retailers, healthcare, manufacturing, you name it. And, everyone has some data issue. Let's put that into perspective, right? Data obviously has become a critical asset. In fact, it's been evolving for the last few decades, actually. People are monetizing on data as well, right? So first of all, let's look at where we are today. A lot of companies are navigating through some rough waters, right? As we know it, through the pandemic, there has been a lot of impact to, I think, every organization out there, whether it's a small organization or mid-size or large organization, and everyone's been going through this difficult times. But the good news is that we are bouncing back. We are definitely seeing a lot of more inquiries around the investments on data management and cloud strategies. So definitely there's a bounce back coming up, which is very encouraging in fact, all sectors, if not all, not everyone, but all sectors. So that's very encouraging. And A lot of people are obviously investing in the cloud. I think cloud, in fact, cloud is one of the big topics of discussion we are seeing by companies. How do we migrate to the cloud? How do we present a value proposition in the cloud? So cloud has definitely been a big focus in during this pandemic endeavor. But definitely, we're going to get through this, and I think we're going to see a lot more development around this platform. What's interesting is that the digital transformation is a big initiative for organizations as we know it, right? People are trying to become more data-driven organizations, and that means you've got to invest in these data technologies, data architectures, data planning, and I think we're going to see a lot more realization. And why are they doing it? Organizations have realized without data you can't innovate. Without data you cannot really grow your company, right? You have to understand your customers. and how do you understand your customers? It's not the sales. It also tells you through the interactions with your customers, right? And that's very important. You need to know your customer better, right? And that's the reason why understanding the customer, doing innovative solutions and deployments, even growing the revenue, like in different regions and different products and services, you need to understand the market actually, right? So data is one of the most critical assets today. In fact, as I mentioned, 51% of organizations can buy and sell data today. They are monetizing on data, right? And that's a huge element out there. And I think this definitely is an important direction. In fact, we see close to about 85% want to improve their data insights in the decision making, 85%, which is encouraging. So this is the Forrester survey we have done every year to understand customer decision making process. And so 85% want to improve the use of data insights in decision making. So this is very encouraging. But then 91% report that improving the use of data insights in decision making is challenging. So there is obviously an issue there, right? Well, we want to improve it, but yet we cannot improve it because the fact there is a challenge out there, right? And less than half of decisions are made based on quantitative information versus analysis versus what you call the gut feel experience, so to speak, right? Decisions are being made without quality of data. So even though people are moving to the cloud also creates silos, by the way. So people aren't really realizing, like, how do we really create value from this data? How do we really drive insights that's really needed for driving business decisions better and improved? And this is something which we have seen, I think organizations tell us all the time. So where are most of the organizations today, right? If you look at it, we can place them in three buckets. One is they struggle for survival. This kind of a category of customers, I know, is difficult in this pandemic times, but they definitely are cutting costs. They're selling off line of businesses. They may even do some acquisition through their exit strategy. But really, we see a lot of folks in the data awareness category, as we call it. They cut down a bit spend, but yet increase the automation. Automation is a very big area of focus. Why? Because it really improves productivity of your staff, but also really drives more innovation and growth around this platform. Reduce the cost for initiatives, but also focus on data-driven initiatives, which people are investing in. But really, the real area of focus should be on the insights-driven customers who are really focusing on innovation, really driving more modern architectures and technologies and investing heavily on data architectures, because they know that some of the traditional architectures haven't kept up to their business needs, actually, right? And that's a very important point. This was a good time for organizations to really realize that, hey, certain things probably should not really be taken for granted. We can't take an older technology and move along with it for the next 5-10 years. We really have to modernize, so to speak, data platforms as well. Maybe they're focusing on real time. Maybe they're focusing on some performance issues or what have you, right? But that's what we see. But these are three categories we see organizations. I think most of them are in the middle ground with data awareness. People are trying to move towards the insights driven. And that's, I think, where most organizations are going to be heading towards the next 5 years,
Right, thank you. Manish, I want to ask the same question to you. What do you hear from Realtio customers as their urgency to use data effectively?
Well, Noel mentioned a few different areas, and across all of those different areas, the key thing that stands out is that data. Inherently, everybody realizes that data is a strategic asset, but in order to accelerate the value out of that data, the biggest friction point today that we are hearing about from our customers is the siloed state of the data in their enterprise. If you take a step back and think about where we were 15 to 20 years ago, there were companies, large scale companies that were operating with 5 or 6 or maybe 12 different systems or applications. Today, those same businesses have 300, 500 different applications that they're working with. And this is not going to get smaller. This is only going to increase. So the number of silos will continue to grow at a rapid pace because every part of the business requires a new business process that is going to be more efficient, faster to work with, and get some efficiency out of it. But inherently, it's also creating one of the biggest problems or the barriers to getting maximum value out of the data. The second area that we hear about from our customers is this pace of digital transformation. Every business today, it is extremely important for all of them to figure out what is the digital engagement model that they are layering in into their business, because it's a question of not only being a thought leader, but also a question of survival. If you don't have that figured out, then you're going to be left behind. And the digital experience requires, once again, data to be a core foundation for you to enable that experience. And then the third piece, which Noel mentioned, in order to make all of this possible and feasible, cloud is becoming the vehicle. If you just think about the way in which businesses operate today, you have the traditional ways of doing business, you have the new digital way of doing business, you have partners that you're working with where you want to collaborate faster and better with those partners. And if you had everything behind your firewall, it would be very difficult for you to be able to achieve all of those outcomes. And cloud is becoming the vehicle that can allow for that ease of collaboration across different boundaries on the ground, in the cloud. These are going to be realities where all of these systems will have to exist at the same time across all of these different types of landscape. And your business will need to interact and engage with not only the customers who want to engage in a digital manner, but also your suppliers and vendors who want to engage in that digital manner. So opening it up in a manner where they're all working off of the same set of data as the key enabling backbone, that is becoming a core imperative for every business today. And that's where we see the combination of these three factors: the increasing number of silos, the race towards digital experience and being able to deliver it, and using cloud as the transformative vehicle to be able to do so. Those are the three key sections where we are hearing feedback from our customers.
Got it. Thank you. So both of you talked about digital transformation and competing in today's world. My next question is about the specific desired business outcomes with these data management initiatives. But before we talk about it, I think I'd love to hear from our attendees who are live in this webinar right now. So Brian, if we can pull up our audience poll, please, to ask a question. Yes, so what are the most important, what is the most important business outcome your team or organization is seeking from data management initiatives? Only one choice, please. And the options are better customer experience, new product launch, risk management, increasing operational efficiencies, and compliance. So there are multiple ways we talked about having your data accessible impacts your business, and multiple initiatives can be accomplished. So we're curious, what our audience is looking to do with their data management initiatives as their top choice. So while we're waiting, I think we're gonna give about 30 seconds to get an understanding from our audience. So I'm preparing you, Manish and Noel, for this question. So please think about what do you see in your conversations and Realtime customers in these areas. Brian, how are we doing? Do we have progress? Oh, you have already. Great. So yeah, customer experience seems to be the top choice. Mostly 65% of our answers go to customer experience, and operational efficiencies is about 29%, product launches 6%. Okay, that's very helpful. Noel, how does this compare to what you're hearing from the organizations that you talk to?
Yeah, no, that's actually a very good survey. It aligns very well with what we see with interacting with customers across all these industries out there. Customer experience is definitely one of the most priority requirements for organizations to succeed. As I mentioned, customer churn, right, is an important topic of discussion in every organization. Improving customer experience is definitely the right thing to do. So definitely aligns very, very well with what we see. And also improving the efficiencies, right? Operational efficiencies. We talk about the automation we are going through at the moment, right? Automation of these processes, these different deployment strategies, so that the outcomes could be better and faster and more innovative as well, driving more innovation around that. So certainly aligns very well. And I would say, in fact, a lot of customers are spending this time, and I think Manish talked about the silos part of it. I totally agree. And when you tie the two together, customer experience and data silos, you got an issue. Because the fact that the data silos really creates a bigger mess. So how do you get a customer 360 done, right? And improve customer experience? And that's why customers are struggling with that. They need a solution that can connect the dots together, right? To really drive that customer 360, because data could be sitting on premises, it could be sitting on cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, and the edges as well, right? And clickstream and logstream data. So how do you really drive those results quicker and faster, which really makes a big scenario, So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah.
And Manish, do you have something to add about Realtime customers, their outcomes?
Absolutely. When we talk to the Realtime customers, they have similar kind of a feedback that we saw in the survey. Customer experience, new product launch, those are all the types of efforts that they're focused on. But again, thinking about the themes or the categories that we are seeing across all verticals, different types of businesses can be broken down into three particular categories. One is there is an effort to increase revenue. And when you think about that effort to increase revenue or drive growth for the business, delivering a better customer experience becomes a key requirement for it. Because in today's age, everybody wants that Amazon-like experience, or the type of experience where you don't have to jump through several hoops in order to get to the outcome that you want and be able to do the business more effectively. And that's where seeing the boost in revenue or being able to drive higher sales numbers, those become the key deliverables or outcomes that customers are measuring. The second area is improving efficiency. Again, goes back to the friction points in the business. When you think about what are all the hurdles that get in the way, either leading to higher cost or inefficiency in your business, that's where customers are looking at data as a key enabling vehicle, once again, to iron out all these hurdles so that they can be faster, better, cheaper in being able to deliver to the outcomes. And the third area that we see as a recurring theme, especially with all the compliance and regulatory type of needs, You have privacy as a big theme, a recurring theme across the Reltio customer base, where customers are coming to us and are saying that they have GDPR, CCPA, other types of requirements that are coming up that may be relevant to a particular vertical or a geography, where they need better capabilities to be able to meet those requirements. And on one hand, these compliance and governance type of requirements keep evolving, new laws keep coming into place, but at the same time, in order to deliver quickly and efficiently on those outcomes or to be able to meet those needs, they again need to have their data organized and curated in a manner where they can react and respond very quickly to it. So those are the three key themes that we see across the Reltio customer base. And this is not just limited to one geography. It is across verticals. It is across different geographies. It's a global need and requirement at this point in time.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Thank you, Manish. Noel, we talked about both Manish and you talked about the data silos. So can we talk about the emerging data strategies to work with these siloed environment when you have massive data volumes? What are the architectural approaches to this environment to handle?
Before that, I just want to address the issue of where are people investing in, right? I mean, in terms of the initiatives, and we talked about this earlier on, that cloud is obviously a big initiative, right, which people really address. But there's also AI machine learning, right? Is a hot topic of discussion today. And I think AI machine learning is two sides of a coin. One side of the coin is where the customers are really
It seems like
yeah, I think Noel, are you back?
While we wait for Noel to join us back, we are looking at the need evolving. Noel, it seems you're back.
You lost you for 50 seconds. Sorry.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Sorry about that. This is the issues we run into work from home kind of scenarios, right? Apologize for that. Some network issues. This is live telecast, So I was talking about, where our customers really investing in is obviously we talked about the cloud as a big initiative, which customers are deploying. But also AI machine learning, right? AI machine learning being a very big initiative for organizations so that they can, better build these models so that they can understand their customers better, get more value from the data, but also automate some of these processes as well. But we also see a lot of, focus around connected data. Connected data, like Manish was mentioning about silos. So there's definitely a theme in organizations where the connected data becomes a very important focus area, where you want to connect the dots between all these different areas, whether it is customer 360 or IoT or maybe fraud detection. So connected data has definitely become a very important initiative for organizations, but also real time. We've been talking about real-time data for a couple of decades, but the fact is that these architectures we have built in traditional architectures they are built haven't kept up in meeting the needs for real time. So hence people are trying to modernize their platforms to address that notion of real time, what we call fast data you need to analyze quickly and faster than what we've done in traditional sense. But there's also the need for self-service. Self-service is playing a big role, not only from IT organizations that need to improve the processes, the deployment strategies for their systems, but also from the business side, we want to empower the business users as well through self-service architectures, right? And this is a big push in organizations, whether you're financial services industries, or retail, or manufacturing, or oil and gas, or what have you. So self-service is playing a big role in the industries, from really improving the outcomes of these business outcomes in terms of more agility, more faster time to value, to drive some results in a more consistent manner, right? So I just wanted to share that information. This is obviously based on the conversation we're having with customers on a regular basis, Yeah.
Thanks for adding those points. Yes. And do you want to now talk about the architectural approaches to be able to support these initiatives?
Yeah. So, the architectural approach, obviously, when you look at it, people obviously struggle with silos, and especially people going to the multi-cloud initiative, right? How do you really have a strategy, a data strategy, which really provides a single view of data, right? People are really trying to focus on, I want consistent, trusted, real-time data in my enterprise. And that's a tall order. How do you get consistent, trusted, real-time data across clouds, across the edges, across the on-premises world? And as mentioned, more than about 30% of data in an organization is duplicated. They make copies and copies of data. And when you make copies and copies of data, well, you don't really know what data you're dealing with. Because it may have gone through some transformation before it shows up on your dashboard. And sometimes two reports from the same organization may be different. Why? Because the data has gone through some transformation. So people are looking for these focus areas. And data fabric, as we know, is one of the architectures where people are investing in to really drive more value proposition, right? And as you know, data fabric delivers this modern architecture. Why? Because people are investing in, I want to create a semantic layer of data across these hybrid environments, on-premises world, multi-cloud world, and the edges, and have this semantic layer. It can drive this trusted, consistent data for driving these applications and insights, not just insights, but also applications like microservices applications you're building, right? It's also about self-service, that we talked about it, a big initiative from organizations. I as a user should be able to leverage my business data to create more better dashboards and better reports, right? And that's not being done in organization today. In financial services industries and healthcare industries and all these things. Why? Because the data is not leveraged effectively. The self-service is not there. Like one financial services company was mentioning, we only have these business users dealing with about 15 to 20 reports and dashboards, which is very limiting them from an innovation perspective. And this is a big issue. So data fabric is actually helping you drive better success, because you can actually leverage data more effectively across these different domains, right? And real time, we talked about it, is a big initiative which people want to invest in. Fabric is driving real time data. Normally, when you look at a dashboard, the data moves from transactional systems to the operational systems to the analytical systems, and then gets to the dashboard. It's 24 hours late. 24 hours late. Do we need that data for 24 hours late? No, we need this in a second, right? So the fabric is trying to address that, where it can connect the source systems directly, whether it's transactional systems, operational systems, analytical systems directly. And this is a big gap in the industry we've seen for the last few decades, actually. So this is changing and really disrupting some of these architectures out there. Agility, yeah, absolutely, need to be faster. Time to value, a big thing. And data fabric, you can. It's not like an architecture which goes and disrupts and removes traditional architectures. It complements them. This is a very important thing, right? So data fabric is all about delivering trusted, consistent data, but also the fact that it can connect to all these system of record, system of engagement, system of transactions to drive this semantic layer. And a very important point on this fabric is definitely the master data, right? Because master data is critical. You need to leverage master data along with your system of engagement data and interaction data together to really drive the results. The results could be like Customer 360. In this example, we talked about it just in the survey. You're doing sentiment analysis, next best action, or social networking analysis, and what have you. But a very fundamentally important point in the fabric is this master data, the system of record data, right? And I think when you start your fabric building, you really need to incorporate the master data to really drive the results, along with other data sets, right? Maybe it's streaming data or interactive data and what have you. And data could be integrated with data lakes and warehouses, but could also be integrated directly from the source systems, like a clickstream data, which may not have gone through the lake processing as well, right? So definitely, we are seeing a lot of deployments happening of the fabric across different industries. and it's a building block exercise, as I mentioned. It's not like you're done in a week or two. It's going to be going an ongoing initiative, but definitely creates a value proposition.
Right. Thank you, Manish. So same question to you. What are the emerging trends that you are hearing from relative to your customers' demands? Like, what are the demands that they are placing to remove the silos, the architectural approaches?
Yeah, Irem, some of the things that customers are asking for, similar to what Noel mentioned, trusted, consistent, self-service, access to data, and doing so in real time. The reason why they're asking for real time is because everybody is trying to now solve for the right information or actionable information at the point of engagement. If you're in store and if you're at the point of sale, they want to be able to tailor the experience in that retail store for you as a valued customer. In order to do that, they have to be in let's say 100, 200 milliseconds, look up your information, and then have a conversation, engaged conversation with you that is tied to your loyalty, rewards, membership type of details, any other information about past history of purchases, so that you're not, some unknown customer walking into the store and getting a different experience every time. Everybody wants that consistency of experience at the point of engagement. And we as consumers want that from the different companies that we buy products from. So that point of engagement type of experience is what everybody is now trying to solve for. In order to do that, you have to think about or work backwards from there and ask for, do I have access to the right, trusted, consistent information? Is it readily available? And if it is readily available, then I can tie it into those experiences that are at the edge or directly in front of the customer. And in a similar manner, making sure that the data is always up to date, always highly curated, always the right set of information. That's where the data fabric type of concepts are evolving, where, think about the future where customer data as an API will be available inside the enterprise so that any business process, any application can consume that correct information and also at the same time contribute into it, because every interaction is going to lead to new capture of details that you want as an augmenting principle for this core central set of data that you're curating over a period of time. And that's where our customers are going. That's where our customers are asking us to deliver on the real-time capabilities. They still have to service their existing needs. They still have to feed the same information into their data warehouse, but they don't want to wait 7 days or 30 days for that information to cascade into a data warehouse. Same thing for data science. Now, even though 20 years ago we have talked about streaming analytics and streaming data warehouses, now with the evolution of the technology and the capabilities, that has become possible. And that's why getting information, this type of rich core curated data into every business outcome or every piece of technology that you're building in your data stack is becoming extremely relevant. So taking the information from relative type of foundation and pushing it into a cloud data warehouse in a streaming manner, that is doable and possible today. That's what our customers are doing so that they can have up-to-date insights about every audience that they're working with. And this could be audience on the partner side, on the supply side of the house, or on the customer side of the house. But the need for that real-time visibility or as quickly as possible type of visibility is now coming down from 24-hour cycles or longer to seconds or even milliseconds.
Totally agree. I mean, I think it's a good point actually, because I mean, I think when it comes to real time, we obviously get a lot of inquiries on real time for data initiatives, and customers I think are definitely investing in this. But on the other hand, we also have this data explosion going on. So how do you, I guess, deal with that issue, right? That on the one hand, because this data explosion running into tens and hundreds of terabytes into petabytes, and then we need to deliver this faster in microseconds or milliseconds or even seconds, right? And that's a big challenge. And I do know organizations are spending more time with caching the data, putting into more flash and SSD and DRAM to really cache the data to make it more faster, but also focusing on very specific needs today. I know Customer 360, we talked about it, is a big initiative. That's where they're focusing on today to improve the real-timeness of data for that initiative. But we are also seeing some of these other organizations are expanding to other domains as well. So the real time is not just on customer data alone. It could be employee data, it could be supplier data, it could be product data as well, right? So the domains are expanding for a real-time perspective. And definitely, this fast data initiative is going to be expanding. We're going to have a real-time enterprise in the next 5-10 years for sure. But this gradually incrementally approach to getting towards that is what's needed. And I think organizations should definitely look at newer technologies and architectures to drive the results faster. Because, as I mentioned, traditional architectures may not be supporting some of these things, right? And especially as you go to the cloud, you need to enable those, especially with memory architectures and scale-out architectures as well,
Yeah.
And Noel, one of the things that we are seeing is that even traditional problems that customers used to think would only be done on a quarterly basis, like let's say incentive compensation, territory alignment type of problems, even those types of problems are moving towards more real-time type of orientation, where incentive compensation, businesses don't have to wait for the next quarter. They can start computing and tallying up the results and start changing or shifting the cadence of their business. And those are the types of things that we are seeing from some of our customers as well, where they're taking the concept of information being available as quickly as possible to every part of their business.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, the real time has been a vision for the last, 2 decades, but it's really exciting to see the technology now making it much easier. It's not just a vision, and it's more reality. And in fact, the customer experience examples that you gave are only possible to deliver those outcomes with really streamlined operations, with real-time speed. Noel, you started talking about some of the master data related changes or the demands for it. So you recently completed the Forrester Wave report, and we for master data management. And really curious, can you tell us about the next generation master data management? How is that evolving based on your recent research?
Yeah. So as a result of the Forrester Wave for MDM, which I worked on for the last 6 months, I had to obviously engage with a lot of vendors, but also customers who are deploying MDM solutions as well. So it was a good interaction with these customers and vendors, but also, we saw certain areas of evolvement in terms of where this is evolving, in terms of the next generation of MDM, where are we heading towards, right? And that's a very important discussion. And we do know that cloud is definitely a big focus area. So the cloud MDM is where everything is moving towards at the moment. And we'll continue to do that in the coming years as well, right? But I think what we're seeing is, in terms of the focus area for next generation MDM, is number one, around AI machine learning, right? AI machine learning we talked about this earlier on, playing a big role, especially for the automation, the intelligence in the platform, but also driving more success and innovation quicker and faster, right? So we're seeing that MDM itself is now getting bundled inside with this AI machine learning technology to really drive more intelligence. Because we don't, as even Manish was mentioning, we are processing some of these data faster and quicker in real time, but also we want quality of data as well, right? Not that we want to do it quicker and faster, but the quality matters as well. But also, how do we turn data into insights? and really improve business decision making, right? And so AI machine learning is like two sides of a coin. One side of the coin is all about business users trying to leverage AI machine learning models to improve the understanding of the customers. And the second side of the coin is about the platform really becoming more intelligent and integrated and transformed through AI machine learning. So we see the next generation of MDM incorporating a lot of these capabilities of AI machine learning within the platform to make it more intelligent. Also, knowledge graph. Knowledge graph, as people must have heard about it, has now started to show up on a lot of the discussions. Is because you can't connect these dots so easily. When you have all these silos of data, it becomes so messy to really connecting the dots. How do you connect those thousands of sources of data? It so becomes nightmare, right? Imagine trying to write SQL statements around that or API connections around thousands of sources. It can take you days. So knowledge graph is really automating those connections a lot to make it more simpler and easier, especially as we go towards the IoT analytics scenarios, especially as we go into these customer 360 kind of scenarios, which expands the boundaries of traditional data sets, right? So knowledge graph, we know the organizations who have invested in knowledge graph are really finding a lot of value from knowledge, from acceleration of those use cases, acceleration of those business outcomes, and definitely connecting the dots, so to speak, a lot better and faster. So we definitely believe that the next generation of MDM will actually have knowledge graph playing a big role in the coming years, and this is going to be evolving in the coming years. The third thing I would say is automation, right? An area, especially as MDM focus is growing across multiple domains, the need for automation plays a big role. You want to automate those ingestion, those transformation, the data cleanliness, the data integration part of it, and also synchronization part of it in a more automated manner instead of manually trying to do this and in this thing. So we're going to continue to see this evolution in the coming years from automation perspective of MDM. Another area, I think the fourth area I would say is self-service. Self-service plays a big role where MDM is not going to be just used for traditional applications, but also for analytical purposes, like we're seeing MDM integrating with data fabric, right? Why is that happening? Because the fact that fabric alone without master data does not really function very well unless you build master data from scratch. Hence, the integration plays a big role. So we're going to see MDM expanding the scopes towards not only applications, but also insights and analytics playing a big role as well. And then also the last but least, I would say multi-domain, right? Next generation of MDMs are playing more multi-domain scenarios, which means that, well, we can drive more results from these different types of domains, whether it's customer domain, whether it's product domain, there is supplier domain, there is employees, or what do you call, I lost the track there, but product domain. And I think the whole notion of these domains really provide a very good customer 360, but also maybe business 360, right? Or product 360, right? Or employee 360 as well. So you have all these different types of domains coming in, which plays a big role. So we definitely see next generation MDM going, expanding beyond customer domains towards other domains as well. Within a single platform, very important point. Not having 10 different platforms for 10 different domains, but having a single platform as well, right? So those are I would say at least 4 or 5 areas we see the next generation of MDM expanding on, and obviously some vendors are already doing this. Manish, I guess a question for you, like what are you guys seeing from your customer base, right? What are the areas they are pushing on from the evolution of this next generation of MDM?
Noel, the question that our customers are asking are along the lines of their businesses are getting complex, because businesses that used to be B2B are now starting to think about how they should evolve their B2C presence. And businesses that were B2C, they're trying to see how they can also have a B2B type of a channel. So almost every business is transforming towards a B2B2C type of a complexity. And with that comes this notion of multiple data domains they have to understand and master. And that's the core foundation of their data that they have to get right. And it doesn't have to be the boil the ocean approach. It has to be quality over quantity. so that they can have a highly curated set of data that informs every decision across their enterprise. And that is leading them to also think about this notion of, do they have a good understanding of how the dots are connected across different data domains? So the interconnected, interlinked notion of this data, where let's take the example of insurance as a vertical. In insurance, most of the systems, most of the business has been policy centric. But now customer centricity is required because they are trying to make sure that they can compete with the up and coming landscape of different insurance providers who have taken a technology first type of an approach, are centered around customer experience. But most of the systems in insurance don't work that way. And just saying that you will have a customer database is not enough, because you need to understand the complete end-to-end scenario of the business, all the way from customer, the household, the policy, and the insured asset under that. That's the end-to-end spectrum that they need to understand in order to drive better outcomes out of an insurance business. And that is the type of scenario that is coming up almost in every vertical, especially as customers look at the next evolution for their business. And then, the whole concept of AI ML, because nobody has infinite amount of time to think about how to stitch all of this information together. It has to be done in a highly automated manner. And things all the way from how you match the data and unify it, to how you curate it, how you aid and assist data governing type of capabilities, or data stewardship type of capabilities, so that there is an automated assist that is provided by these AI ML type of algorithms. And looking at a larger number of sources, how to curate information from them, bring them into this qualified set of data at scale, and then look at the business outcomes or insights that you can provide on top of this data. And there is a role for AI ML to play in each and every one of these areas, so that it can be a faster, easier way towards the no code type of self-service capabilities that the customers can benefit from.
Awesome. Thank you, Manish. So I want to make sure we have enough time for Q&A, but I have one more question for both of you. Noel, what is your guidance for chief data officers and data architects as they get ready for 2022 and they create a modern and agile data foundation?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, first of all, review your business requirements, right? Especially as you go towards the 2022 initiatives. Look at your business requirements, and especially around the real-time data, right? This is a big initiative. Make sure you guys are up to the level of real-time so that your competitors are not. But certainly make sure that real-time is a big initiative, but also trusted data, right? We talked about trusted data is critical for success, and not just having data. You need to have trusted data, which means that data needs to be trusted across all the line of businesses, across applications and insights, right? But also self-service is playing a big initiative as well. So businesses, so focus on self-service from IT to improve the automation, but also from the business to really improve their outcomes quicker and faster, right? Modernize your platforms, I would say, right? Modernizing your platform, I think is a very important direction, especially to address the things like real-time, like self-service, like connected data, like trusted data, right? You've got to modernize your platform. If you're not modernizing your platforms, you may not be able to achieve the goal of this newer architecture or newer requirements you may need, right? Also leverage, I would say, modern MDM solutions, right? I mean, as I mentioned, MDM solutions are critical, right? Components of success, especially as you go to the cloud. We talked about it, because cloud actually opens up the door for all these silos to show up, whether it's Salesforce data coming in, or maybe SaaS data or IoT data coming in, or even your database data coming in. You really have to provide that contextualization of data, right? So MDM plays a very important role to get consistent, trusted data. across your enterprises as well. And then also invest in data fabric, right? Data fabric architectures, as we talked about it, is evolving and growing to really drive more value. And MDM and data fabric plays a very important role together, right? So the whole architecture should be looking like that. You're going to leverage MDM along with data fabric to provide that whole data management, whether it's ingestion, transformation, governance, security, preparation, quality within the fabric, along with MDM to drive the results. And have a team of players, right? I mean, team is critical, right? You need to have team from architecture side, from a development side, from a business analyst side, and security side as well to drive results for these new generation of innovation they're trying to do. I would say, don't focus on becoming a data-driven company, but focus on becoming an insights-driven company, right? The end results are more important. Data-driven, okay, we are data, but the question is, what is the outcome of the business, right? That really matters. But that's really going to be a success for your organizations from a revenue perspective, but also from an innovation perspective, you know.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Manish, do you have anything to add? Your opinion?
Three things that I would ask all of our CDO or CIO or anybody in this landscape who's trying to get more value out of data. Three things to keep in mind. One is, don't boil the ocean, take an iterative approach to it, because a lot of times companies get into trouble because they're trying to boil the ocean. Versus there is, with today's technology stack, it is very much possible to take a highly iterative approach, deliver business value benefit, and then expand the scope. So you can do that. The second thing to focus on is quality over quantity. And quality is not 100% on day one. So you have to take, again, an approach where you can constantly keep improving on the quality. So the constant curation becomes a key theme to embrace, and make sure that you have the capabilities that allow you to move forward in that manner. And then the third part is trusted data as a consumable asset. You have to think about, is it available? If you have put this together, is it available through an API? Is it a part of the data fabric? Is it available to your data warehouse, regardless of on the ground in the cloud type of environments? Is it available to all your data science type of efforts? Because this is the core data that is going to drive better insights out of all the efforts that you're trying to drive. It's the same data that drives multiple business outcomes for you. So make sure that you're enabling that in a self-service manner.
Thank you both so much. So we talked about my questions. I'm going to now look at the questions coming from the audience. Please submit using the Q&A section. I do see a couple of questions to start with. So Manish, you talked about some financial services use cases. I think the question that I see is about like compliance and security aspects. So what are the investments that Realtime did in that area?
Yeah, we have been a SaaS platform from day one at Realtime, and we've been working with customers in financial services, insurance, in healthcare, all of these regulated industries. Compliance and security have been a key area of investment for us, because as our customers are using the Realtime platform to bring up their data assets and get them up and running inside Realtime, we have to be a partner to them, where we can provide for the same level of security and compliance type of requirements that their CISO teams are driving. And we have built that into our product capabilities. And that is allowing us not only to become a trusted partner for these large organizations, but also make sure that we can be a partner in looking at the next set of compliance requirements. The whole area of privacy is constantly evolving. And in that area of privacy, you saw GDPR, you saw CCPA, but more data sovereignty and data privacy type of requirements are going to come up based on different parts of the world that you are in. And being able to meet that need, we are investing with our customers and partners in that area.
Great, thanks for the answer. Another question is about data mesh. Noel, I think you can explain data fabric versus data mesh difference.
Yeah. So this comes up quite often, I guess, right? and data mesh is mostly to do with application building. So if you're developer centric, that's what data mesh is all about, with APIs. Data fabric has less APIs because we are focusing on the low code, no code area. But the fact is that data mesh is mostly building composite applications like custom applications. It's very good for that purposes. But data fabric actually can do a lot what data mesh can do. Just that the focus has been different. But I would say also the fact is that data mesh tends to be more project centric, versus data fabric more enterprise focused. So that's one big area of issues where, as I mentioned, developer centric is always project focused, not enterprise focused. Do developers focus enterprise data? Well, sometimes, but most of the time they are very focused on delivery of a project or on an application they're building for that purposes, right? But also, I would say data mesh can leverage also data fabric data. So the fabric data consolidates, integrates all this master data, system of record, system of engagement, system of interaction data coming into the fabric. You're building models around that, but that could be consumed by the data mesh, so that it can be used by developers to build these API application-driven scenarios, right? And that's what we're seeing customers do. So they kind of complement also in certain regards as well. As I mentioned, data fabric has been more on the insights and analyticals focus versus data mesh. You don't hear a lot. Why? Because people aren't writing code when you're doing analytics as much. They may be building machine learning models. It's a different story, but not writing Python code for doing analytics, right? The system should automate that. And that's what the fabric has done. Fabric is also more aligned towards the intelligence part of it, the data intelligence part of it as well. And it's got tighter integration with NDM. Data mesh does not. Right, so there's a difference on different architectures and different use cases.
Thank you so much. Another question is, how are you dealing with missing data, especially when the data is not mandatory for customer to submit, but it is crucial for the intelligence of the service provider? I don't know whether it's specific for you, Noel or Manish, but Manish, do you want to talk from Realtime's perspective, and then we hear from Noel in general?
Yeah, it's a very relevant question. If you think about the journey or the life cycle of the data never starts out complete. That's why you have to take an approach where it is think about concepts like progressive stitching. You start with sparse information, but you should capture it, gather it, and then you start to build more into it. And that's where the concepts like data unification play a key role, because as let's take the example in the marketing landscape of person type of entity information. A lot of times that journey starts as an unknown customer, where your name and email address and those types of details are not yet fully known. Then you go through different types of steps in the journey where you're requesting more information, you're engaging in a digital manner, and that creates points of capture for some additional information that can be associated with the first set of impressions and that were left behind, or trails that were left behind. And then you get to the next stage of the journey where additional information becomes visible. And now, another aspect of this is that this may not be the same source contributing the information. It could be multiple sources capturing it at different points in time. But behind the scenes, master data management type of capabilities or data unification type of capabilities can help you stitch that information together across these multiple touch points. So at Realtime, we like to call it the progressive stitching concept. And that's how we've been solving it for our customers across multiple verticals. Noel, anything?
I would like to add the fact that the missing data will be there, right? I mean, especially if you don't capture the data when a customer submits that form, for example. And that's where this if you're doing customer 360, right? The customer 360 is probably not. It's going to be like customer 390 or 390, 90. The data is only coming as a 90. So how do you get to from a 90 degree to a 360 degree is because you may have some additional data that needs to be connected. So missing data could obviously be leveraged through intelligence within the platform. One example is knowledge graph plays a very big role in identifying some of the gaps and some of those things, like connecting to a social media like Twitter and Facebook, along with my system of record data, to really understand this customer behavior. Like, is this going to churn or not? Is the customer going to churn or not, right? So that's a very important point. And I think that missing data connections can only happen through some sort of intelligence. And I think knowledge graph, we talked about it, is going to be a big push in the coming years, but definitely look at solutions that already offer knowledge graph within MDM and data fabric to begin with,
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're coming to the top of the hour. So I would like to thank both Noel and Manish joining me today and answering my questions. It was a very insightful conversation. I appreciate it. And I also would like to thank our audience for joining us, answering our questions and submitting questions. Thank you.